General session. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the 10th session and or say the final session of Science of Yoga lecture series. So we will begin our session with invocation recitation video.
श्री आदिनाथाय नमोऽस्तु तस्मै येनोपदिष्टा हठयोगविद्या विभ्राजते प्रोन्नतराजयोगम् आरोढुमिच्छोरधिरोहणीव योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचाम् मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोक्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि अथ पातञ्जलयोगसारसूत्राणि अथ योगानुशासनम् योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपेव स्थानम् अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यामतन्निरोधः यमनियमासन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार धारणा ध्यान समाधयोष्टभङ्गानि त्रयमेकत्र संयमः पुरुषार्थशून्यानाम गुणानाम प्रतिप्रसवः कैवल्यं स्वरूप प्रतिष्ठा वा चितिशक्तिरिति.
Thank you, Shruti, for starting the session with this nice invocation video. And now I take the pleasure of introducing our esteemed speaker of today. So today is the last session for this particular Science of Yoga series that we started on 27th of June. And 2 months we have spent with this series. 10 lectures we have. This is the 10th lecture, so 9 lectures already we have organized, and we have gained a lot of understanding on various aspects of yoga. And today, in the last session, we would possibly be gaining some aspects on Ayurveda as well, because we have with us Dr. Sumit Ashok Kesarkar, who is Vaidya of Ayurveda, and he has given a brief bio of him, which I will read for the introduction of our speaker. So Dr. Sumit Ashok Kesarkar is a Vaidya of Ayurveda and founder of the National Library of Ayurveda Medicine, a first of its kind searchable repository cataloging Ayurvedic formulations, organic and inorganic ingredients, and text in a dynamic model in a database created using Sanskrit phonetics. For the past 20 years, he has traveled India working towards the conservation of medicinal plants, local health traditions, and ancient Hatha, Tantra, and Yoga practices, documented and shared in various ways on the Ash Zero platform, with significant documentation in his YouTube channel. Dr. Kesarkar's focus is on creating an all-integrative platform towards the application of Siddhantas, which he calls as collective algorithms of Veda, Ayurveda, Yoga, and Tantra, by providing refined tools through adaptive use of modern technologies beyond models of academia, esotericism, and mysticism for their practical application in our contemporary world. He focuses on decrypting these Siddhanta with modern day methodologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, which makes their application homogeneous, creating a pathway of nonlinear neural expansion that gives access to the full expanse of, human neurohormonal enzymatic complexes, creating a state of adaptive dynamism towards the cosmic blueprint. The refined tools to access Siddhantas are known as sacraments, and Dr. Kesarkar's work expounds on certain of these sacraments through streams such as his
Sir, you are
Scotch
disconnected.
whiskies. Sorry?
Now it's fine.
Uh, okay. The sound breath, which decodes and decrypts the esoteric literature of various schools visualization. Bitter matrix, which expounds on the Tikta Madhur Rasa complex towards kata anabolism through specifically curated espresso. And finally, Ayurveda for women, which explores ungendered nonlinear expansion through the lived application of Ayurvedic algorithms. He is the author of two books, The Handbook of Kitchen Medicine and Healthy Drinking Single Malt Whiskey, and Ayurvedic Doctor's Perspective. So, this is a much detailed introduction of Dr. Sumit Kesarkar, and I am very sure you are struck by many technical terms that he has used in his bio that he had sent me, and probably that helps you understand that he is a technical person and gives a lot of emphasis on the science that is out there, and he has used terminologies like neurohormonal expansion, enzymatic complex, neurohormonal enzymatic complex, and nonlinear neural expansion of our brain. So all these different terminologies, I will first ask Dr. Kesarkar to give some understanding of these terminologies that you have used so that we have a platform on which we can develop our talk. And just before Dr. Sumit can start, I will just request the participants that you can ask any question in between by writing your question in the Q&A box. We will be keeping tab on that, because this is not going to be like the previous lectures. This will be more like a question and answer session in which we will try to gather some insights from Dr. Sumit. So, Dr. Sumit, you are kindly requested now to start your.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
My journey in these fields of yoga, Ayurveda, and Tantra have not been uh, through a definitive choice. So basically, I wanted to do engineering, didn't get marks, so unfortunately had to go to medicine. Didn't want to go do MBBS, so went to Ayurveda to see that probably I could pass out and get out of the country, maybe live my IT dream. And then certain things happened, and which led me to an exploration path because I saw someone, a person, to, got totally cured by a very different mystical way, which was incomprehensible for me. And that is how my journey started. And during my times in travel in the Himalayas over the 20 years, where my main focus was to understand how applicable these patterns are. My training was very oral. I did not learn much from books or reading books. Of course, I was in Ayurveda colleges, so whatever little bit we had to do. But that was just for passing out your exams and giving papers. But my teaching or learning had been mostly in very harsh conditions, like a crematorium, probably in the high harsh Himalayas. And my idea was that when I met a lot of people, who were searching this kind of a pathways to inner meditation, inner guidance, something out of body experience. My idea was that what is written in the books, like earlier, this information was also orally transmuted. There were no writing scripts earlier. So when we hear something like a child, when you have a child in your house and you speak with it, it learns in a very oral form. But our education system is very linear because we have academics, we go to school, we learn something, and that is how we also make sense of you. When we are a learned people, we'll pick up some book due to some kind of a tragedy that has happened in our life, stress, whatever it might be. And then we come across some meditation, someone somewhere, and we feel good about it. And then with our own insecurities, our linearity of life, the choices what we make in life, which are very much defined by the place where you're born, the food choices, the friends, your economic status, geographical status, they all define the choices we make in our life. And that also defines the way we learn these practices. Means you'll pick up a book of yoga, which might be more palatable to you in your language. There might be a book which might be very beautifully written, but it must be so difficult to understand. So we first make it palatable, then through it we correlate with someone else's experiences. Then we try to find those experiences. Maybe it could be reading a book written by some Mahatma or a bestseller, whatever. So my idea here was what it said, that if this are algorithmic, what is happening? So we go to certain siddhantas, because when the word we use siddhanta, siddha and anta. Siddha means what is established, anta means what is nothing there beyond it. So like if we say there are only two siddhanta, one siddhanta is that there are only two powers in the world, hot and cold. But cold does not exist. Cold is absence of heat. The coffee which makes me feel hot, I can feel it hot. You might not feel it hot, depending upon how our tolerability to heat is. So whenever we understand cold, we only understand it through absence of heat. And that is universal, that is cosmic. Similarly, Vedic sciences, yogic sciences have given us these timeless algorithms, but we have only understood them through the way our DNA has been programmed over a period of time. In which era you are born, in which conditions you are born, what that are the choices are there. But when we look at the Siddhantas, like for example, we look at the Rasa theory of Bharat Muni. So it talks about 8 emotions. Emotions are this raw rasas, which which have no linearity. Like for example, your anger and my anger will be different. The way I will express my anger is different. The way you will express your anger is different. The way somebody will look at us and also say this guy is angry and this guy is not is different. So on a very ethereal level, what is happening? You have access to all these cocktail enzymes into your system, which were found, which are not found, and which would be found over a period of time, and you want to gain access to it. And therefore, when we say neurohormonal enzymatic complex, is this complex which has got everything in it. But we have only linear access to it because of the way we are born, because of the choices we make. And that is the reason when this yogic breathing exercises or meditative exercises or a synesthetic experience, as I say, that when you open your eyes, something is stimulated, and internally, what effect it gives you. All these things, when we look on an application way from the text what have been transferred to us, it gives us this definitive siddhantas where there is not your truth or my truth, it is out there. And when you start exploring it slowly but surely to get that purest kind of access to these patterns, you start gaining more and more control over your body. And that is the reason why when I talk about these concepts, why I talk about this concept, because I don't want to put my interpretation in this way. These things, siddhantas are there. They work through a particular channel of algorithms which have been put out by the rishis, not necessarily in one book. Right before I end this, a lot of people would say that I'm talking about Ayurveda and yoga as separate. But if you look at the oral transmutation, these books were not separate. Tridosh Siddhanta of Ayurveda is also mentioned in the Vedas. It also comes in Tantra. It also comes in Yoga. Today, we take it as separate channels because that is the way we learn. MD level, PhD level, basic level, this level. But earlier, it was not there. Earlier, it was the sound which used to register into your brain. So certain different neural circuits were activated. That gave you these three different sections, what is written in the text as Dhi, Dhruti and Smriti. Today we talk it as only one as memory, but no. Shastra says that Dhi, Dharana Shakti is different, when you retention power. Smriti is different, recall memory power. And Dhruti is when you are applying something. Some people can retain an information, they cannot apply. Some people have very good memory, but they cannot recall it when required. Some people do not retain and do not recall, but they exactly know when to apply. Like when you know what to apply, you know what to search on Google. So this every aspect has been given differently, and each one is programmed particularly of how. And yogic shastra tells us, or tantric shastra tells us, in different schools of thought, that if you want to have a complete experience, you need to access this entire set of emotions, what it called as ananda, by destroying these vyabhichari or corrupted linear bhavas which are going through. And this is how I see it, and therefore I do not see it as a very different platforms. It is an integrative platform where you go with these basic siddhantas. Whatever siddhanta you can pick up, I'm not saying that you have to pick up the rasa siddhanta. You can pick up any other siddhanta, what you want, and you can slowly but surely start exploring it through applicative methods of breath, which basically what happens is bringing in the pran inside it and going through all your marma points, which are called as energy induction points into your system, and slowly but surely creating an absolute ethereal flow. So this is how I can start with it. Of course, when the questions come, I can a little bit more go deep into it, because I understand there are a lot of technical terms here, and people who have not followed this type of a work, sometimes it becomes a little bit overwhelming. But this is where I would stop. If you have any follow-up questions which might a little bit ease this topic, I would be, it would be helpful.
I think first question that I would ask is that why do you call these algorithms? What is your meaning? Like what do you mean by when you say algorithms?
As I said, the word is basically Siddhantam. Siddhantam is our rules given, which are timeless, which cannot be challenged. So only because they appear to us in a particular way, we don't understand them. Like for example, if you look at the ancient texts, we say Tridosh Siddhant. Tridosh Siddhant is Vat, Pitta, Kapha. These three humors control the cosmos. They are not telling humans. So what is happening? One is a perception of motion, one is a perception of transformation, and one is a perception of stability. So if you see the entire universe, everything is going into a state of creation, stability, and destruction from the highest level to the minutest level. Even your cell is produced. It stays for some time. It could be microsecond, megasecond. Does it work, or whatever work it has to do, and dies. When this cycle is going properly from micro to macro, everything is in state of stability. But there are different stages of stability where this Siddhantas, like a lot of people say, Vayu might be wind. It is not. Agni must be fire. No, fire is a type of Agni. When we say Agni, we say anything that transforms. For example, if you take an unripe mango and you put it somewhere, after few days, you will see that it has become ripe. You see transformation. It only happens through heat. So when we talk about these Siddhantas are non-linear expansive, means they do not follow a school of thought. They can be understood from a school of thought. Like for example, in Ayurveda, it is said, Vedic sciences, it is said that garlic contains all the five rasas. It is good for body if used in a particular way, it is fine. So that is a Siddhant. The Vaishnavites do not use it because they are school of thought things that by eating garlic, tamasic behavior increases, which is right for their school of thought. Certain school of thought might eat it, but that doesn't change the inherent Siddhanta in it. I use the word algorithm because it is what defines artificial intelligence and machine learning. You give someone a set of this timeless Siddhantas and tell them to and give them some data and tell them to process that data only based on that siddhanta without bringing your own linear thoughts into it, your own bias into it of religion, food choices, humanity, environment, climate change, whatever. It is going to process the data on that kind of an information, as opposed to another word in Sanskrit which we called as Vad. So if you talk about the great Adi Shankaracharya, his was Vivartavad. Vivartavad means he said that whatever the world is a projection of our senses, which is illusion. But it was said as Vad. Vad means like a postulate or a theorem. So he had Vivartavad. somebody has Parinamvad. So there people are trying to understand the truth nature of reality by using some concepts which they feel explains it better. Like there are 6 Shad Darshans. All are trying to find the same Siddhanta of how exactly creation happened. But everybody are putting their darshan ahead. Yoga is also a darshan. Sankhya is a darshan. Uttar Mimamsa is a darshan. So when we look at these narratives, beyond our linear prejudice of what we agree with, not my truth, not your truth, what is the truth? When we start understanding it, we come to the prime algorithm, what I call, which is given in the Vedas, is Satyam and Ritam. Satyam is there is an eternal truth, but we see it in the way it appears to us, what is called as Ritam. People say both are same, but it is the final Siddhanta. You cannot beat it. Like an apple falls from the tree. Somebody might say it is gravity because he understood that rhythm. Somebody would say the apple became heavy, therefore it fell down. Somebody would say the tree was weak, therefore the apple fell down. Somebody would say there is no apple and no tree, or just projecting empty illusions in space. So the truth, what it is there, appears to us in multitudes of forms, depending upon where we come from, how our birth has happened, what kind of a sanskaras we have got in our life. And when we look at all these words of sanskar, karma, we understand that though we connect with them in a very fairy tale manner, we connect with them in a very, very juicy manner, because that is how the information has been passed on to us. There is a kind of eternal algorithms given to us by rishis, but because it could not be articulated in written language as we learn today, we are unable to find it. So my idea is only stick to this inherent algorithms which I feel are siddhantas given in the shastras, without making any bias towards it, and try to experiment with them, try to understand them by going around the country, going around in harsh environments, going around with people who are actually applying them to study to do it in hard geographical conditions, and understand how exactly are they gaining control and what exactly is happening into my system. So this is how I try to put it, because these things have not been uh, put forth in that way. We are only following schools of thoughts, which is also fine. I'm not saying it is wrong, but that is not my way, because I don't adhere to a school of thought. All schools of thought add to your understanding and simplification of what is going on. But today the time has changed. We are in a fast-paced environment. It is a yantric yug, as I say. There was a time when there is a mantric yug, there is a tantric yug. Today is a yantric yug. It is a yug of gadgets. We use a lot of gadgets. This also what we are using is a gadget. Information is shared that way. So we have to embrace the yug what we are in, and try to make sense of these timeless algorithms, which do not matter in what era you are staying. They still remain the same. They are trickle down effect is different. So this is what I mean by Siddhanta. But because Siddhanta, their English words are a little bit, we cannot, like compare them with Sanskrit. I call a Siddhanta a collection of algorithms which are expansive and lead to understanding of the Siddhanta. It is not one algorithm, it could be collection of algorithms in a
Right.
mathematical language. Yeah.
So, which everyone will agree that these are siddhantas. How you like identify that these are siddhantas, like outside, coming out of your own bias, so that your own bias does not fall into in that understanding.
See, that is how you have to train yourself. That the first thing you have to understand what is given in the Shastras is that there is no concept of good and bad. It changes from yug to yug, dharma to dharma, society to society. Like I always give this example that if you take chewing gum in Singapore, you could be jailed. In India, it doesn't matter. You can eat it and spit it out anyway, right? So what I'm trying to make is that whenever there is a siddhant, like for example, I did this video on Ayurvedic cooking. So in Ayurvedic cooking, the siddham is annam asti. So annam, what it is say, anything that is edible is food. It does not mean physical food. It could be mental food. And asti is what? You have to make it more subtle and edible through your body. Like for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that there are only 4 types of food: bhojya, bhaksha, leha, chushya, peya. Sorry, 5. So every food under the society, whatever it might be, can be bhojya, which you eat, and bhaksha. Bhaksha means which is given by canines. Chushya, which you can like suck, leha, which you can lick, and peya, which you can drink. So liquor, vikar, everything comes under it. So this is a siddhant. Tomorrow even solar foods come. Like tomorrow research is going that people are trying to trap carbon into the atmosphere and make it as available as food crisis increases. You can still put it into siddhanta. Bias comes when you say that this is right and this is wrong. So as I gave you an example, that Ayurveda gives you properties of every food. It doesn't say this is good or this is bad. It only tells you that this is kuru, this is lagu, this is heavy, this is light. This combinations might cause you problem. This combinations might not cause you problem. Also depending upon which kind of an environmental condition you are. From that, let us say that there is a Gaudiya Vaishnava Samaj who think that their practices, if they eat lasun or garlic, is causing them problem. So that is their method of reaching Lord Vishnu, which is not wrong, but that is their methodology. So in Ayurveda, lasun is called as Rajasic. In their school of thought, it is called as Tamasic. So when we start understanding, we have to first take a step back and say there is no quotient of good and bad. Here in Vedic languages, everything is, that is what I follow. I'm not saying everybody should follow that, is there is a Satyam and there is a Ritam. So once you take a step back, you start understanding that how is this world created? This world is created by the projection of our senses. Like for example, I'll talk with you and I'll find your voice very rude. And I'll say this guy is very rude. My senses have processed because maybe from my birth, I come from a place where this kind of a talk and voice modulation may come across to me as rude. And I'll make an opinion of you. But you might not be rude. You might be at your most friendliest base. I don't know. But if I take a step back and say that no, whatever I'm getting from this person is my sense projection, it is not his duty to expand me. It is my duty to expand the senses, cut off what feelings I am getting, and process the information what is trying to convey to me. Because whatever expansion is going to happen within me, and that is how you start understanding this kind of a process. Like for example, I'll tell you karma. The siddhanta of karma, that it is moving, it is a vector. You are born of karma. The sperm moves towards ovum, it is a karma. It is a nature inherent in it. It is not a scalar which doesn't have directions. The more and more you cut off the directions of that vector going from one point to another point, slowly but surely the magnitude goes into you and there is no karma created. Now, if we talk in a very, very mathematical language, I'm not saying the modern language, this has been what is written down there. You are separating good and bad. A lot of people have said that don't attach your senses outside, create a no mind model where you know go into the cave, everything happens outside darkness, inside darkness. So if you are not thinking, nothing is created. But no, even not thinking, that no thought is arising is also a thought, right? Even though when you go inside and say that no thought is arising, it is still a thought, it is still a vector projection. So when you start understanding this, that what exactly they are meaning, how exactly these siddhantas have been passed on to us, and then you start creating a kind of a step back procedure, that this is what is appearing to me as per my surroundings, economic, social, moral, whatever it is. And there is a part where I take a step back and say, okay, this is my reality, but this is not the complete reality. Of course, you fail miserably in it, but at least that awareness comes slowly but surely. And then your focus goes on breath. Then you start understanding that when you're really angry, how your breath is different. Means if you're angry on a stranger, how your breath is different. If you're angry on a relative, how your breath is different. If you're angry because you have lost something, how your breath is different. Then you start understanding that you only have 21,600 pranas. How exactly you are going to maximize it? Then you start understanding that, okay, there are certain different procedures given which can speed up this process. Not necessarily that you have to sit with 20 hours in a meditation. You could do the same in 1 hour by doing a particular kind of a kriya. Then you start understanding different procedures of why they are given, why Bij Mantra is given, why Yantra is given, why certain phonetics are given. And those way it helps you make an unbiased opinion of the Siddhantas, and then start understanding different school of thoughts without picking favorites, without being biased towards someone, which is the nature. That no school of thought is bad. Every school of thought is expansive. But because we are We make choices depending upon our upbringing. Like a person who is who follows a vegetarian diet might not slowly but surely go into certain tantra practices. A person who is aghur, that sampradaya, some people might not align with it. But when you take back and understand what these people are trying to project, you start understanding the siddhantas behind it, and then you understand maybe this is the way they are getting access to the same thing what we are trying to get from this way. The householder will get it in bhakti. Tantric will get it to doing internal nyasa. Some tantric will do it doing external nyasa through yantra. Some people will start doing hatha yoga. Some people will just do no mind model. And this is how, when you start understanding, this is what I mean. Has been the way I look at things. This is the way I have been trained, to be quite honest. It's not something of my own which I can claim. And this is what I try to put in practice. It's a difficult process, but yet it gives you a lot of insights.
Right. So since you have talked something about breath, prana, then Bij mantras and all, so I would like to ask the first question, which was also asked by some of the participants who registered in the course. So could you enlighten us about the sound breath program, that is your own program?
See, it is not a program. It is just like a platform to understand, because what I said, that we have 21,600 plants, right? And we choose lot of modalities depending upon a social moral conditioning. We have to be honest with ourselves, because this is a field of science, so everybody has their social moral conditioning. Now let us say in Tantra, one makar is given which is called as alcohol. Now, a lot of people think that alcohol is indulgence. But there, the script has been given to you that this is, you're not taking alcohol. By awareness, you're taking some sura. Sura means harmony. Asura means disharmony. So if you take something and create sura, it is giving you access to something as a sacrament, which will reduce your prana consumption. Now, we have a lot of thought processes behind it. I am not doing this. I am not doing this. So let me go for something which is more pious, which fits my model. Nothing wrong in it. So they say there are different sacraments to access this breath. First of all, when we talk about the word pran, it is not breath. Pran is the magnetic flow of breath. Even if a person dies, you cannot pump air into him and say, get up. So whenever you're taking the first shwas, something you're taking it inside from outside, what we call as pran vayu. Now, Vayu is only one. Vayu only entails movement. We understand it from 5 parts: upward movement, downward movement, centripetal, centrifugal, and inside movement. But eventually, wherever there is motion, there is Vayu. Like even if I'm talking with you and you heard something, something has moved, so that is Vayu. So in earlier times, what it was said, Rishi Darshanath. Rishi Darshanath means what? The seers, Rishi were called seers, saw the sound. They did not hear the sound. Now again, we come to the Siddhanta saying the sound is a property of Akash. So ether, Akash Mahabhut carries sound in it. But afterwards, Vayu makes it feel audible to us. So sound is there before you can hear it. It carries the melody within it. And that is the reason why when we talk about the sound breath program, it is this visualization that can you see the sound and make sense of it. Like for example, if I tell someone that you do a Bij mantra of Om, what first thing they will do is that close their eyes and chant it. But it is not said that. Can you open your eyes? Just focus on something, different structures like the Maheshwara Sutras, and can you see some structure in there? So understand that this is how sound theory came to us. The Maheshwara Sutras, if you see what they say in Tantra, it was shaped of Shiva's Damru. And as he moved his Damru, different shapes started originating, creating different Vyanjans and consonants of Sanskrit. Beach mantras are also this visualization that when you open up your eyes, you are opening up your hormonal responses to the world. Like I'm looking at someone, I'm getting angry. Internally, what imprints it is creating me is the sound. How I am seeing that sound creates a synesthetic experience where I am neither being affected by what is going outside, neither I am being overwhelmed with what is coming inside. My brain is not trying to search for a good spot or a bad spot. It is just continuously absorbing the fulfillment of prana, which is going all into my system. So this is how this sound breath visualization program is there. Of course, it is difficult because for that you require a very apt body. You require to be focusing a particular kind of dincharya. You have to focus a kind of eat sleep timings. Because it is said that this pran inside your body only moves through something called as marma. Now, marmas are not this acupressure chi, which like point. They are actual physical structures into your body. So there are 108, some say 113, depending upon whatever we might say. And they have been defined into 5 categories. One category is that if you hit a marma, you'll die quickly. There is one marma, if you hit, you will be cured, but it will pain you for life. There is one marma will be there which will make you handicapped. There will be one marma will be there that the moment you take out something is impacted, you will die. So you take any wounds, mental, physical trauma, it will only cause you these 5 things. Either you'll die quickly, or you will be in pain, or you will be crippled for life, or as long as something is covering it, you will be alive, something like that. So what is happening? Prana is either not reaching there, circulated there, or it has become weak there. The whole concept here is that when you take prana inside Vayu, you are moving it through it. When you understand the sound, that sound goes into this marma and the resonance what it carries, what we call as dhvani. Tasmad dhvani shabda, it is said. It helps us circulate this pran without any inhibition. This pran flow is always controlled by a linearity. Like if you are hungry, right, you'll only remember food which is appreciable for you because it is a pseudo hunger. So only that part of the brain will tickle, that part of the juices will only tickle. Like some people eat Indian food, and when they go abroad, right, if they are given this cold cut, suddenly they do not know what to do with it. Maybe even if they eat it, right, they don't have the access of those hormones to digest it because the brain has been trained. And the idea here of these programs is that experientially can you access these pathways which are already there into your system, which works through these physical points like marma. And what are the sacraments you can use? You want to use sound, you want to use breath, you want to use any other sacrament, it is fine. As long as your mind is open towards it, your mind is not creating that. And sound breath visualization program is due to it. That was a program I had started basically to document these beach mantra practices in highland Himalayas by using heart rate monitors, thermal cameras that time. But today, these technologies are being heavily investigated by artificial intelligence, modern science, telling us the same thing, that they can show you your emotional quotient, they can show you your what do you say, where exactly the blood flow is there. We can detect cancers from thermal imaging. So what it is telling you, it is telling you where prana is obstructed and not. The same algorithm. The only thing now, because the narrative has changed, we look at it from a different point of view. So this was the program started far earlier, and it has just been collected on this platform so that I can segregate my work like that for people who are interested in the tools, not in the process, and use those tools for the betterment of their own studies.
In one part of your answer, you mentioned tantra, mantra, and yantra. Like one was tantric yug, and then mantric yug, and yantric yug is what is now as per you. So maybe I will ask this question that to make us aware or make us understand what tantra, mantra, and yantra mean uh, in the uh, in the perspective of yoga.
See, we have to understand what we say as tantra. A lot of people understand it as tantric practices. Okay, so we don't have we have to go to the etymology of the word given in Amar Kosh or whatever. Tantra comes from 2 words, tannoti triyati iti tantra, means what? Expansion of consciousness and liberation through it. So anything which gives you a fundamental way to access something which is non-linear and expansive is a tantra. I'll give you a very simple example. Maharishi Shushruta is called as a father of surgery. So he was the first person to describe what is the operations. So what he said that before operating, you first require a place where it is sterile. Okay. Then you need to, there are a lot of things he said. I'll just cut down to the few basics. Then he said that you have to first give him, prepare his body during operation, nothing will happen. Then you have to give him anesthetic. So they used to give him alcohol that time, anesthetics were not there. Then you have to take a cut, avoiding the marmas. incision. Today also, even if your operation goes well and your marma is incised by slight thing, even though the operation is proper, you will get pain all your life. Because this marmas is said can only be understood by swa angul praman, means with the finger breadth of the person itself. After that, you have to take care that he doesn't get infection, and then you have to release it. So he talked about pre-operative, operative, anesthetics, post-operative. Siddhanta Tantra remained the same. Today we are doing the same thing. Only we are using anesthetics for incision. He described 101 types of surgical instruments. Today also the designs are better versions of those 113 patents only. So therefore, what was Sushruth Maharaj's field called? Shalya Tantra. Why Tantra? Because it is the way of surgery. Tomorrow the parameters might change. Tantra will not change. Similarly, when we say Tantra here, it is the way to reach this expansion. In that method, yoga is also a Tantra because it talks about union, yuj or yoking. So even if you are like totally in union with yourself, like you're watching TV, you're totally in union, nothing is disturbing, you're bang on with the connection of the artist, he's crying, you're in yoga. In Ayurveda also, when you get a perfect compound which gives you the perfect result, it is called as a yoga. Now what yoga we talk about are a type of darshan where we have understood that by controlling breath, either through a no sense model of Patanjali, where you have to create a no sense model that nothing is stimulating you, only the frontal part of the brain, or the Shiv Sutra Tantra model where all parts of your senses must be expanded so much, there is nothing more to stimulate it. So that goes, which goes into the patterns of Hatha Yoga or other slowly as Buddhism picked up. We don't want to go to the history of it. These things we see. So this is how we have to understand that Tantra is a way. In Satyug, it was Sattu Treta Yuga, Tantra was a way because people used to follow a particular pattern of what you say, of administration. People, Satyug, there was no crime, nothing was there. Then slowly the other Yug came, kings started, accommodating kingdoms, places. Lord Parshuram came that time. In Dwapar Yuga, what happened? In time of Lord Krishna, mantra was there. We saw lots of astras. Astras are different from shastras because astras are sound energized weapons, as we say, which go and hit someone. So that time, the mantra facility, the tantra of mantra was more prominent. And in today's age, the tantra of yantra is more prominent because we do all this kind of activities through gadgets, through yantras. We travel through yantras, we talk through yantras. We ourselves have become a kind of yantra which requires functionality from another yantra to do it. So this is how we understand it. So therefore, we say there is a tantra, which is a way, fundamental way of doing everything. That tantra can be applied to every yantra, and that yantra is understood and made workable by use of a specific mantra. That mantra could be electricity, sound, mantra, beat, doesn't matter. As long as it carries resonance in it, as long as it carries scalar properties in it, which you can vectorize depending upon how exactly the society is looking. So this is how it has been put. And therefore, every yoke, a time limit has been given. Every yoke, what kind of a practices will be there have been given. Every yoke, what kind of a adaptability, what we call as that's a specific word I'm not is given. All these things have been codified. All these things have been let out to us. But the issue is that because we learn from books, we think of them as separate. Like you exactly said, yoga. So you'll say, no, this yoga is different, Ashtang yoga is different, Patanjali yoga is different, Hatha yoga is different. Even Chakra Kundalini, they have told us that there is this innate marmic power in you, which you can access as a whole. But just imagine at that time, people won't understand it. So we have to give some visualization. Like today, if somebody has not seen anything and sees the image of Durga, right, or Kali, it in itself is an academic structure. But today, what will happen? The moment you will see iconography of Kali, you will take a book and will say why she has got so many hands, why this weapon, why it becomes so difficult to remember every iconography. But just imagine that at time there were no written text. Iconography straight away gave you access to your neural circuits to register, not only register this information, but it's sealed that image itself, five sense experience, installed the beach of Kali inside your system. Only thing then it was that you tried to energize it through breaths and all, depending upon whatever kind of lineage or whatever kind of school of thought you were following. But because we don't look at history and we think of this as separate subjects, metaphysical subjects or this subjects, we don't, it becomes difficult to get misled by these terms. And therefore etymology comes very important. Mantra, Tantra, Yantra, Yoga, etymology is very expansive, as I said, Siddhanta. Its application depends upon the school of thought. So yoga is also there in Vedas, yoga is also there in Tantra, but when we say yoga, we talk basically of the Darshan yoga, Patanjali yoga. And there, that thing, I think we have to correspond it a little bit.
Right. So one question may be useful for all of us. And I would like to also remind the participants that you can ask your questions anytime, because this is almost like in a question answer fashion, we are trying to bring out the insights that Dr. Sumit has gathered over his life's work. So you can ask your questions anytime. So I would like continue the question. So one question is there: what are the basics of human body according to yoga? So I think this basics of human body that we want to understand. So there is a question basically.
Basics of human body, can you just elaborate, because I don't understand the question.
Possibly the structure of human body as per the Siddhantas.
You see, human body has been, if you see, it is given as Rachana Sharir, as Praman Sharir. So it has said that in your body there are two factors: physical factors and pathological factors. Physical factors are, you have got Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, eyes, hands, which everybody knows in yoga. Internally, what it has given? It has given us a nano, what do you say, a nano amount of everything that is there into your body. Like it has given Shukra is 1 Anjali, blood is 2 Anjali. Anjali means 1 Anjali Praman, whatever fits into the palm of a hand. Now you say that I will not have like 5 Anjali of blood, right? It doesn't seem right. I have so much of blood into my body. It is not telling you that. They are telling you that every body comes with a nano quotient. Till that nano quotient is stabilized, you get health. Moment that nano quotient goes down, even by minutest, your body goes into a toss. So Vedic sciences have understood human body in terms of Praman, in terms of mathematics. So it tells you what is a proper body, how structurally, and that also different sciences like Kam Shastra and everyone have given us how a body's personality can influence job making, impressions in life. So Swanguli Praman is given for physical structures. Anjali Praman is given for pathological or whatever you say structures which we don't know. And their symbiosis has been understood as hell. That is one Siddhant. Second Siddhant, what it is given is that the Karmendriya and Jnanendriya Siddhant, so they say there are like so many Karmendriyas. Karmendriya is the organs of work. There is an organ of senses, like when you want to eat something, right, and you're eating something, your hands will put the food inside, but who is getting the tripti is different. And there is a ubhaya indriya called man, which translates what you want to how you act, and that man becomes corrupt. That man is linearized. We won't say corrupt, it is linearized by our choices. So if you are hungry, if a yogi is hungry, right, he can feed on sunshine because he knows the expansion of satiation. For me, if I'm hungry, I might first think of pizza. I might first think of something else. So my hunger is bound by choices depending upon where I come from. As the yogi becomes more and more internal to his prana, the choice doesn't matter. The satiation matters. So he might feel hunger in 2 days, 3 days of his sadhana. Sometimes he might suffer it with water. So all these things of Praman and Swanguli Praman have been given in Shastras over a period of time to make it a little bit more understanding to us, right? It has been aligned with modern, as slowly as modern studies started happening, because no, every abstract requires a form. It's like if I tell you go and study an abstract, no, you want to start with a form. And then slowly but surely, to understand, and that is what is said in the Shastras, to understand Nirgun, you must have a form of Sagun, something like that. So this is how Shastras describe it. They give us specific information of how the prana flows into the body, how is the physical body, how is the internal dhatu body, which you cannot see, but why it causes diseases. It gives you different kind of algorithms of how your dynamism in nature gets corrupted, because as I told you, the doshas which work out also work into your system. How these doshas are not only dependent on you, they're also dependent upon the environment, how you adapt to the environment, what kind of choices you make, so that the whole concept of Ayurveda is to create this body in such a strong form that all your marmas are strong and the prana flows uninhibited in it. Once that body is prepared with your pranayam or whatever breathing techniques you do, you control that prana to go into separate places to get these ethereal experiences. And once that form is done, your senses about your choices destroy, because then you say that when you don't care about food, what kind of a food you are eating, what kind of a drink your Muladhara chakra is, because it controls that vasanas. Suddenly you understand something else, your Swadhisthana goes. So these things they have told by first understanding the body's dynamism with nature in terms of Ritucharya, Dincharya, whatever. By first understanding how your body is understood there, taking remedial measures towards it, and then probably trying to create a system where you start only experiencing this flow of prana, which leads you to certain states which we all think about. And therefore, in Ayurveda, what it said, swasthasya swastha rakshana, means first preserve your health. Health is not your health, you are unhealthy and I am healthy. What is my dynamism? It's my health. So what it says that even if you're born in a family, the kind of food you eat, even if you say it is home food, might not be right for you. It might, algorithmically, it might be causing you immunological problems. But just because we say I'm eating home food, I'm not eating outside, yet I am getting diseases. So now you understand Siddhanta and bias vision. Siddhanta says that if there is something wrong, it doesn't matter where you are born. Your system is not coping up with what you are exposed to. So first, take an unbiased view and understand your system. Make it homogeneous with your environment, and then probably start making informed choices depending upon what school of thought you want to follow. And this is how, when we talk about yoga and body, this is the dynamism which is already given there. And therefore, we say that first we have to take a step back and understand it more so in today's world, where so much of these immunological disorders are on a rise. And we go and spend so much of time in medicines, herbal or chemical doesn't matter. Ayurveda never says that we take only herbal. It only gives you properties of everything. It tells you that if you have fever, take something which will throw out fever. Sweating, it could be paracetamol or it could be tulsi. Both act on doshas. You cannot say that paracetamol doesn't act on doshas and tulsi acts on doshas, because it is a cosmic siddhant, right? So everything has to alter. But if it is happening again and again, you have to take a step back. And that is the reason Ayurveda is also not stuck to only herbs, right? They first started herbs, then they say this is not sustainable. We keep on taking juices. His shelf life is only 10 days, 12 days. We'll take paste. Shelf life is 10, 12 days. Maybe we'll make powders, maybe we'll make concoctions. Then slowly but surely they said that we'll go to metals, mercury, and all, because in the finest nano proportions, it gives you long-term effect. And the older they are, the better. So the Siddhantas were kept the same. Everything else was included. Ayurveda has used blue vitriol, which is a poison. Or Ayurveda has used mercury. Ayurveda has used lead. Ayurveda has used arsenic for medicines. But today we just get involved with the materials and not why exactly and how exactly they were prepared. And that is the reason we get problems. So preparation of all these things requires a complete unbiased knowledge of how exactly it was presented. And then we can take help from modern tools to just fast track our system. So this is what I can say for that question. Hope it was helpful.
So let us come back from Ayurveda to yoga, which is the topic of our discussion in this series. So how do you like to, how would you understand like what yoga is and what is its purpose in our life? So why we should do yoga? So
See,
you
the
can.
whole see, I won't say I'm no one to talk about the purpose of it, but what I can say is that the whole idea and what we say in the algorithm is a journey towards inwardness where no karma is created, no vector is created. Because the moment we are born, we are going towards death. It is an illusion that you are growing and you're coming down. No, you're degenerating. Therefore, they are called as doshas, which destruct your body. So in yoga, what it is said that internally you have this amazing access to prana, which in its complete expansion is bliss. But it does not, you do not reach this state because of unawareness, and secondly, because of the worldly choices we have made. So once we start understanding this process through experience, through looking at different perspectives, not only towards our own petty lives, but towards what exactly is happening in world in terms of politics and all, and start understanding this system, it gives us a kind of surreal experiences within us. It is like I say that in all the rasas, sometimes I say Adbhut rasa is good because sometimes when you just go somewhere and you become amazed, there is no expectation what you want to do, there is no expectation how much you have invested, you just get an experience. Sometimes you get this surreal experience of what yoga is talking about, a complete sense experience without any ifs and buts. But yoga says that this is involuntary, it has come to you not by choice, it has come to you by accident. But if you want a voluntary control over this, if you want a voluntary enter a stage of ananda, then this yogic practices of whatever school of thought you want to follow gives you that access. But you have to prepare yourself for it. Now, how will you prepare yourself for it? There are different streams. Some people go into bhakti yoga, the guru prepares. Some people go into hatha yoga, they have to prepare their body. Some people go into different forms. But the idea is the same. To get into this amazing experience, a five sense surreal experience, which gives you, which cannot be described, which can only be understood as you move into this path, and yoga gives you those insights. And therefore I said that I don't segregate this fields as yoga and ayurveda. These are just the same siddhantas, but they appear to us different. Ayurveda uses herbs, medicines and all to prepare the body. The science of yoga is to modulate the breath, to maximize and understand and stop and what do you say, stop and generate more pranic pressure somewhere. And eventually the both, when you do it with awareness, it gives you a very surreal experience. And that is how, when we start understanding yoga, at least me in this world, it gives you more understanding of the different tools which have been provided to us, and it helps you choose the right tools depending upon how much you are expanding on your path.
So there is a question in our Q&A, and probably you have already given answer to this, but I will just ask this question since someone has given this. What is the interrelationship between, what is the interrelation of yoga with Kashmiri Shaivism? How important is it in realizing Param Shiva? So probably the answer was already hinted, but you may elucidate on that point.
See, as I said, that this Kashmir Shaivism, Shakta, Lakulisa, Pashupita, Aghor, Nath Sampradaya, these are methodologies to reach a state of synesthesia, state of complete ananda, depending upon their algorithm. So Kashmir Shaivism have their algorithms of 36, 32 tattvas, whatever they understand. So this is, you have to understand, as I understand it, that Kundalini, Chakra, Kubjika Tantra, whatever you want to put, interdimensional things like Gandharva, Apsara sadhana, Yogini sadhana, whatever you want to put, they have just elucidated to us these different surreal accesses which we have into our system, which, as due to our, I won't say linearity, it is the way our world works, because this is how world has to work, else everything will collapse. So if there is no hunger, there is no perception of hunger. So this is how it is said that different schools of thought have given different methodologies to reach those states. To make it more palatable and understandable, they have given an algorithmic form so that we don't mingle with the hocus and focus. Like if you go to the Vedic pantheon, there more effort was there on karma kand and upasana kand. There were havans, there were home, there were cryptic mantras which were different for the Rig Vedis, the Yajur Vedis, the Sam Vedis. So it became a little bit difficult for a common man to understand what was going on, because it looked something which was very high. When the Tantric pantheon came, Kashmir Shaivism came, they modulated the same methodologies in a very different way. giving it a structure, giving it something which is palatable. So even if you read Sanskrit of Kashmir Shaivism, it is very easily understood if you know a little bit of modern language. It is not like you have to go into total deep or learn this, unlike the Vedic languages, which is very difficult to decode because that kind of a lakar is gone. We don't even use the late lakar of Ved. No one teaches us now. So every Sanskrit has got 10 kinds of lakar, we say, which is a tense, the way to decode it. The Vedic late has been decrypted. No one knows it unless and until somebody has oral transmission around it. The Shiv Sutras and all these things have given us a very palatable form to understand these practices through a window of 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 regularity. And that is what I could say, that whatever school of thought we follow, that school of thought makes us palatable, this concepts palatable. But if we get lost in the narrative of that information, how it is approached to us, again that linearity creeps in. So I can only tell from a very application point of view. And as I said, no school of thought is wrong. Every school of thought gives you the same expansion. The only thing is that the choice of the school of thought must become very natural, and it should not be a very linear choice, that because this agrees with my perception of reality, it could be food, it could be anything, I am going there. And therefore then this kind of a some kind of a discrepancies occur. So this is what I could say, or whatever little bit I know about this thing. I'm not saying that I know everything about it, but what little bit I have understood in my journey, I can share with you.
Right, thank you. And I have another question that as you were talking, it came to my mind. So you are talking about many different terminologies in Sanskrit which are related to different methodologies or different paths which are out there. So it seems that you have been exposed to these paths either through books or through practices or through teachings, oral teachings, transmissions. So I would like to understand how you have been exposed to this wide gamut of all these different terminologies related to different methodologies through books or through your experiences. So this is the question, because normally if a person layman would listen to you, maybe you would suppose that you have read many books and then you have gathered all these terminologies, and now you have understood, and now you are giving it out for us to understand, and may suppose that this is the way that they could also go into it and understand it. So I would like to understand how you have developed your own perception.
See, to be quite honest, I don't have any books. The only book I have is from my colleges, which I gave my exam from. I don't have any books. I don't read much books. I know it is a little bit difficult for people to comprehend it. I don't read books, but that is what I want to share. That this model of application is that you connect with the algorithms experientially, and then your mind tells you what to read. Because as I told you now, that if I tell someone read 20 books on yoga, 20 books on tantra, somebody talked about Kashmiri Shaivism, somebody will talk about Sri Yantra, somebody will talk about something else. We'll keep on reading those books put forth by people who have made it palatable for you. Because if I go and read Sanskrit, it is very difficult for me to understand. I don't know Sanskrit also. I only know little bit which is useful for me. If you go and give me a Sanskrit script which has got nothing to do with what I'm doing, I won't even know what. Like if you give me a poetry by Kalidas or somebody, I won't be able to know what is written in it, because it is those words will not make sense to me because I'm not trying to make a commentary or a translation of it. My idea is to find algorithm siddhantas of how exactly it is happening. And to be quite honest, my perception comes from observation of the world. Like I said that in my bio, what I had written, that I use modern methodologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning concept. This has been done like long back by me. When I created the Sanskrit database, it was done on the same methodology, that how people will apply it, how people will understand it, and how will I understand it. So I personally feel that if we start with books, there is no end to documentation. There are thousands and thousands of books. Even if you take tantra, right, there are so many books that it is difficult. If you say Ved and all, these are homogenized to us over a period of time. In that Ved, then again there are shakhas, pratishakhas, there are commentaries. How many books will you read? So my idea has been to not pressurize myself with these books. Secondly, pressure only comes when you feel that you are not equipped to do something or talk something somewhere. Like, like if I'm going somewhere, I think that if I'm talking on yoga, I'm doing yoga, I must be well read. I don't follow that. I have never put that pressure on me. I just, the way I went, whatever people taught me, I understood. In that process, if I felt that I need to access a particular kind of information, I accessed it. Of course, I might, because of my, learnings, I I might have some kind of a photographic memory or whatever. I don't know that I remember certain things which are relevant to me. Means I don't load my brain with unnecessary information. So the whole idea is that I try to declutter as much as I can. And that is what I said, that the first easy thing is to understand that this yoga, tantra are not separate. They are all trying to find this synesthetic experience within you of complete expansion. Then once you understand that, you have, second thing what I do is that I don't look back and say what was there in 20 years back, 100 years back, 400 years back. I accept the reality that I am in this world. I'm looking forward. My world is surrounded by Instagram, TikTok, movies, virtual reality. This is my world. Why? Because then only I'll appreciate that my sensory stimulus is going to come from them. My sensory stimulus is not going to come from something which was done in the past. Today, what is my reality? My senses are developing like that. What stress is it causing me? What kind of a insecurity it is causing me is something which I start understanding and take a step back and try to understand the bigger picture of it. And that is the reason why I talk about Natya Shastra also. I talk about modern technology also, Tantra also, Ayurveda also, because I don't take them separate. So this is how I can tell people my models, S0 model and R, are all about this application-based system. I don't tell people to study some things. Like, for example, if I have a lecture also, I'll tell them that you're not supposed to watch this more than one time. Whatever you remember, and forget it. Don't try to remember it again also. Because if you have registered something, some part of your brain has been open. It will lead you to the right information at the right time. But our idea is that we listen something, we try to take notes, then we try to cross check those notes, then we again try to read relevant books to it. So even though that might help you, it is not opening different parts of your brain to this idea of information. So this is what I have been practicing over a period of 10-20 years, which has made me a little bit aware of all these different kind of concepts. And of course, experiential experiences happen. You have to go out, you have to experience these things. You have to go out and be in these conditions. You have to go out and meet people, like people who are practicing this without having any opinion about who is doing right and who is doing wrong. And that kind of a visual experience will only guide you. That is the only thing what I can say. And that is something when people have to take a hard step and start doing it on some smaller level in their life. And eventually when they start doing it, this plethora, this sea of academics becomes very accessible for them.
Okay. Yeah, we got it. Thank you for your answer. I will go to one question which is asked by one of the participants here in WebEx. So it's relating to again marma. So he's asking that how can we heal a marma that is leaking? Get rid of pain in a specific part of a body.
Yeah, as I said that first, if it is a physical pain, you have to basically get it checked by an Ayurvedic doctor or someone. That is it. But I'm talking about the concept of why the pain is there, which is not going. So here on this platform, I'm telling you that in your body, whatever experiences you get of the world are through these marmas. And when lot pran is not reaching it, or your capacity to intake that much of pran reduces, your experience is dwindled. That is the reason we see that in old age, when people cannot retain much prana, their voice is lower down. They cannot talk in high pitch. So I'm giving here on this platform. I'm telling you that this is the way our body experiences pleasure and pain. And if we look at it in a very profound way, then we'll understand why we are suffering from something and why we are not finding an answer. So there is always an answer out there. It's not saying that the answer is not there, but because we feel that we have tried everything in our hands, it must be something which is not in your hands. So therefore, we say that once you start experiencing something and you start expanding yourself in this yantrik yuga, today it is so easy to to connect with people to get this. If I had to do this like 10-20 years back, it was so difficult for me to even understand My half of the time would have been gone in references of people who might have healed me. Today you have an abstract, abject knowledge of why exactly you might be suffering something which is not getting all right. Most of the times it is because of lifestyle choices, because we don't want to give up everything in life. People say that I've reduced something in life, but reduction doesn't happen like for people say that earlier I used to have 100 cigarettes, now I have only one cigarette. Doesn't matter. If you can digest cigarette, you take 1,000 cigarettes, but if you can't, even that one puff might might create a pranic imprint on you. So that is how, when you start treating your body by first cutting it off from something and give it something which you don't like, and then expanding your concept of nourishment, you start getting access to all this marmas in it. But our problem is that because we pick and choose, even like people who want to do yoga and they are working, they will pick up a time which will be after their class, before their class. So the system is not ready for it. There is a time into the body where body is cleansing itself. There is a time into the body where body is absorbing something. And when we start taking a step back and understanding it, it makes us aware of these choices which we can make. Of course, it comes at a cost of some personal sacrifices. And once you start making it, this concept will become more and more applicable, more and more experiential for you. As they are just concepts, I'll tell you something, somebody else will tell something. It all makes sense, but on experiential level, nothing changes.
Right. So, one question that can be followed up from here, as you mentioned, that our capacity to intake prana that also reduces with age. So, is there an idea of living ever youthful by taking, like, retaining this prana? Is there a way that we can do that?
See, many people, the concept of having a indestructible body, the concept of Siddhar, since Tamil Siddhar started with it, that they can preserve their body over a period of time by alchemy, by transmuting something. But it was taken like your body you cannot preserve. There is a time, Lord Shiva says, that the moment you are born, death enters you. The body is going to be destructible. You preserve it 800 years, 10,000 years, 1,000, it doesn't matter. What they are saying is transmutation. Anti-aging means transmutation. Like in alchemy, tantric alchemy, there is a concept called as jarna, where to mercury, after a period of lot of processes of agni, if you give it something like mercury eats gold. So if you give mercury 20 grams gold, it will absorb it, but its weight will remain the same. After that, you remove that much gold from it, its weight will still remain the same. So nothing is adding, nothing is subtracting. You are at status quo. That is somewhere we have to understand the concept of Chaivan or anti-aging. And that thing has been on different levels have been practiced in certain way by many people. There are many methodologies. I won't say that somebody succeeds. It is not in my way to talk about the end results. But these things have been mentioned. These algorithms have been mentioned. We tend to believe that somebody might have cracked it. Somebody might have not cracked it. I don't know, but these things are there, and we have to look at from that point of view. And this is how I say that every thing to anti-age or even get that status quo goes through certain discipline. Even if mercury has to be in that jarit avastha, it has to go to 18 sanskaras. It has to purify. It is not even purification. Pure is different. Purified is different from pure. You can have pure gold, but in ayurveda and in tantra and in yoga, it still has to be purified. Purified means making it homogeneous. So when you make your body so homogeneous that every organic and inorganic surroundings become easily assimilated into your system and yet not add or subtract to it, the concept of anti-aging happens. And this is what modern scientists are working on in reducing the in preserving the telomeres length of the DNA or doing something. If you look at these concepts, parallel concepts on the Siddhantas, what they are working. I'm not telling you this because this concept is out there. This was something which I used to tell long back also, but maybe we did not have that much material on this. So yogic methodologies, along with aligning with nature, understanding everything else, that kind of a focus could be achieved, but it is a different field, like what we call as the Siddha field, where people give more emphasis on preserving the body. And there is a different field where body is just a medium to gain more and more insights into prana, where again what you said, Keval Kumbhak or Sahaj Kumbhak, that prana becomes so stable that nothing is coming in, nothing is going out. Like there is no need to take in pran, there is no need to throw out pran. That is the state of keval kumbhak, they say. Samadhi kumbhak, they say. So what it is telling you? It is still telling you the concept of anti-aging, but here the body, the physical body is not important. What the status quo is there is important. And for the Siddhas, the physical body was a premises to gather it, and they wanted to fast track it with the use of organic inorganic substances. Certain people just use these substances to create a methodology where this state of keval kumbhak or the state of anti-aging could be achieved. So I can just tell you from what is mentioned out there, without putting my 2 cents and bias in it.
Right. So possibly we'll take the last question, since we are already having 1 hour past. And one question has come to in the question answer box. Maybe this is important for all the other participants as well. So we are always in doubt that which is the school of thought that I should follow. So the question is this: how do I choose naturally a school of thought, and is it necessary to have one?
I personally feel that school of thought, what I can say from my people, choose it because of their food choices and their own conditioning of social moral status. People want security or home away from home. People have their own concept of what constitutes abuse, what constitutes a use. And that's how they choose a school of thought. I said, no school of thought is bad because every school of thought is expansive. The way it is taught, different ways, we suggest it. Like algebra is a school of thought. I will teach algebra separately, you will teach algebra separately. So if you say, I want to go to learn algebra from him, you're not picking algebra as a school of thought, you're picking the way the algebra is taught somewhere else, right? That way might not be the expansive way of what algebra is there. And that is, again, I'll tell you, it's because I don't talk again, besides algorithm, that is how it is. But first there were Vedas. From Vedas, people say this is such a disruptive, what's a disruptive, such an expansive knowledge. So we will create some sections which are called as Shakha. From that Shakha, what happened? Even to learn that Shakha, people created separate branches called Pratishakha. And then that Shakhas were known as Shakham Adhite, means his way of that Shakha. So when we talk in today's world of school of thought, we have motivational speakers, we have philosophers, we have people who are experimentalists, research scientists or experimentators. A lot of things we are there. The whole idea, what I said, is that you start somewhere. Some people just go on a trek somewhere. They go to a cave, they meet someone, they suddenly get this amazing experience, and they say, I want this experience again. They start chasing. Some people just watch some video or hear someone talk and say, wow, this concept seems fascinating, because they might be intellectual people, so they like academia more. Nothing wrong in it, as long as you're not being biased and prejudiced towards a school of thought that this is the only way, all other ways are wrong. Any school of thought is good, because understand one thing, what Shastras have said, that expansion is happening within you. Even if tomorrow I reach a state of enlightenment, why would I come and talk here? So expansion happens within you, means what is happening? You're getting access to so many areas of your brain that this projection that I need to teach, I need to, doesn't exist. You're always in what the term called Satchit Anand. So any school of thought is right. You start where you feel safe, and then it depends, as I said, on how much more risk you want to take beyond your social moral choices in life. How more you want to expand your sensory experiences, that will lead you to that kind of a school of thought. If some people say, no, I am a householder, I have got duties to do, but I also want somewhere where I can feel unstressed, let out, you go to the bhakti mark. Some people say that they like meditation, deep calmness, they don't want to do anything like a vairagya, they go to the Patanjali Yoga mark, the Raj Yoga mark. Some people who are more into rituals and all, they go into the Sri Yantra mark. Some people who are into academics, like most of the times they gather, they talk about academics, and that also gives them a surreal experience. Some people, they want to experiment, so they go out of the way. Like myself, I never go out of the way and experiment with a lot of things, because I don't care about judgments. So that becomes my way. But eventually, what is happening that only this way is the right way is wrong. And therefore, when I was answering the previous question, I said I don't refer to any books, I don't refer to anything because they make you very, very biased towards something. I follow the experiences, and in that process, whatever information seems relevant to me, I use it. And it could be, and then I don't have to make choices about favorite author, favorite book, favorite this and everything is Shiva, everything is coming in that tattva to me. And as long as I am expanding to it, any school, he will lead me to that school of thought. That is what I believe. And in today's world, is very important. It's a very important question that people should start somewhere, but they should not hold on to it just because it aligns with their social moral choices in life, because then that it will cause them a lot of pressure, and eventually techniques won't help them, because no techniques help you. The concept will help you and techniques will facilitate it. Today, if I know this search kumbhak, what I need to do, the techniques will facilitate it. But if I say that, okay, this pranayam this time will make me do that, I don't know. I might know the technique very well to reduce my heartbeat, close my heartbeat, but that doesn't mean that it is giving me a surreal experience. It is a technique. Not only me, many commandos in military also use it. It's not like only I can use it or somebody else can use it. But some people get very lost in that the juice of the kriya. Some people get lost in the juice of academics. And there what happens, it is good for start, but after a period of time, it causes lot of stagnations. And that is what I can say, that go all out, start somewhere, and don't make any choices or prejudices depending. Just say that we are here for sensory experiences, and definitely it will guide you.
So I think that the question that was asked is to, and the answer probably like you need to be more connected with your own self and understand how you feel about it. And possibly the problem in today's world is that we really don't recognize how we feel about a certain experience, what is the true feeling that we are getting, and maybe things are mixed up inside. So I think the question may have stemmed from that sort of confusion that we are always having within us.
So that is what I said in the previous thing, that when you get an experience, just live the experience and leave it. Don't try to find an experience again. It is like I always say, a painting which you see, wow, I need to recreate that moment. That moment is gone. Only the painting is there. You cannot go there and recreate that moment. Lot of factors were possible to make a beautiful sunset moment and somebody sitting there. You cannot go there and say that I'll recreate it. So my way here is the same. It's a very non-linear model. It's very difficult. I know, because it is so difficult to come across, tell what I'm doing to people. Even if I've created this platform only recently, that becomes so difficult. That becomes very impossible to even tell something. And therefore, the only basic way I say that when you're in an experience, register it, but don't search it. And just forget about it. Go back into your mundane life. Don't think that this is right, this is wrong. That shift will guide you. Because one person might be bad to someone does not mean that person will be bad to you. Knowledge has got, as you interact with the world interacts with you. And this is true everywhere, most of the times. And this is what I said, that in today's world, whenever you get an experience, don't put a esoteric, overwhelming mark to it. The first thing what happens is that when we get some overwhelming experience, we feel that we have unlocked something within us. I'm not saying you might have, but holding on to it and then searching it causes us more problem. And when you start doing it, that experience will guide you. It might not guide you today or tomorrow, but something shifts into you. You might not notice it. The way you will start doing things will be different. The way you will spend money will be different. The way you will interact with people will be different. And these small cumulative things will eventually lead you somewhere. Before I finish, I call it as a meadow effect. When we go to the Himalayas, right, we see the mountains and there is a big meadow, what we call as Bugyan. But what happens, even if you like tilt 1 centimeter your leg like this, looking at the mountain looks same. But if you're not aware, what happens now? It leads you to a different path, totally detouring you from your main path. So what is happening is that because you have got an overwhelming experience, you just go places which you never intend to go. There is no insecurity, there is nothing. And in today's world, I feel that anybody who's searching for that, those concepts where we study so much about Sahaj Kumbhak, Kaival Kumbhak, then this sensory expansion should be understood without attaching any kind of degree or any kind of a validity to it. And once you start doing it, you'll see it guides you. I won't say like this is what you should do, but if you at least do it in some part of your life, any part it could be, you'll see how it changes. And this guides you to the right literature, the right person, and the right kind of practices which you need to do.
Thank you, Dr. Sumit. I think this could be the ending words from him also, ending the session, ending the lecture in the right note. So I would like to call upon Shruti again to formally confer the vote of thanks. Yes.
At the very first, we thank Dr. Sumit Kesarkar for accepting our invitation and adjusting his routine to make time for this lecture. I am sure the lecture would have given a lot of takeaways to the audience. Coming to the audience, we must extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the overwhelming support we have obtained from them for our lecture series. With the registration mark crossing over 1350, the success of the lecture series cannot be possible without your overwhelming support. We thank our director, Professor K.K. Pant, and our Dean of Academic Affairs, Professor Apurv Kumar Sharma, for lending their constant support to our efforts. We also thank Professor Anil Kumar Gaurishetty for his able leadership to the IKS Committee of IIT Roorkee and being a source of encouragement and enthusiasm for all of us. We also thank the various IIT Roorkee authorities and officers who had always been available to solve our problem and extend their support in organizing the lecture series. We must thank all the IKS student volunteers for all the background work carried out for successful conduction of the program, starting from managing email communications to setting up webinar sessions. Also, special thanks to the Gudev Sir for creating the beautiful invocation video, lending his own voice in the recitation. Apologize to anyone whom I may have missed, but our heartfelt thanks extends to one and all who came together to make the event a success. This is our last session of the series. Thanks to all the audience who consistently attended our sessions and actively participated in the Q&A. Thanks to all our esteemed speakers who shared their knowledge and insights with us throughout the series. We officially end the session and with Santi Mantra recitation, for which I request Khushi to take over. Khushi, you can unmute yourself and start.
Hello?
Yes, Khushi. You can start.
Am I audible to all?
I think there is some difficulty with
Hello?
Khushi. Yes, Khushi, you can start the Shanti Mantra. Shruti, you may take over.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Khushi, I am doing it. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. Sarve santu
Okay.
niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukh bhag. Om Shanti Shanti. धन्यवाद.